G'day yoga lovers, it's Mike. I've wanted to do this video for 4 years. I'm really excited to do this video because it's about a decision that I made that some people find very controversial. Some people have even called it un-yogic and a bit mean, or they've been at least a little bit confused or perplexed by it. But something happened on the weekend that actually a not interaction that happened that confirmed that my decision was correct. So that decision was after a very protracted, long, very dynamic relationship with lots of contrast or suffering, which I attracted it, and that's no problem, escalated to such a point that I had to draw a very clear boundary. And the beauty of very contrasty relationships where there's a lot of drama or trauma is that you learn more from experiencing what you don't want, more about what you do want. And I got super clear in this situation that I wanted relationships and friendships where trust was immediate, there was an easefulness, a lightness, a joy. Sure, there's going to be disagreements, but overall, you know that these people have got your back. You know where you stand with them. You know you're clear about how you feel about them. It's just so easy. I knew from experiencing what I didn't want that that's what I wanted. I wanted that lightness, that easefulness, and that liberty and freedom that comes from those sort of friendships and relationships. Now, because this particular individual who I attracted didn't display any of that, it doesn't make them a bad person or a wrong person, but clearly we were not an energetic match. I wanted something different, they wanted something different. Now, quite often in most of my relationships and friendships, when there's a disagreement and, you know, the structure of the friendship relationship changes, I'm more than happy to stay in contact with those people because everyone's a part of my life, and I'm in contact with most of my exes, and it's really, really beautiful. But this particular individual, once I finally allowed myself to see what their personality, not their spirit, which is always untouched and beautiful, but the limitations of their personality actually were, then, and on top of the fact that I now understood what kind of relationships I wanted, that lightness, that liberty, that freedom, the absence of drama, stuff like that, I knew it was not possible at all to have this particular individual in my life. And I actually, after a lot of trauma and contrast and poor behaviour on their part, I had to make it very, very clear that I no longer wanted to have any contact with them, which did not go down well at all. And why would it? You know, and that response was to be respected. It's very important that you don't do these sorts of things or come at these decisions from a place of anger or fear, because there was a time I was quite frightened of them because I just didn't know how they were going to behave and what else they were going to do and stuff like that. I attracted all this into my life for a reason, and I understand it now. I know that part of me is gone. But there was a lot of fear. So there was an intermittent boundary of no contact just to alleviate some fear. And that was the best I could do at the time, and I'm glad that I did it. But what really made me feel light and joyful about that decision was because I knew I was doing it because I was heading in this direction and they were heading in that direction. And I wanted them to have just as much easefulness, lightness, love, you know, in their relationships and life that I did. But right now we can't have contact because that's just going to go against everything I'm aiming for. So it's much better to do it from an energy of love. A lot of people really struggled with it. Well, not a lot, but some people did, especially mutual friends, because when you make a decision like this to permanently disconnect with someone based on their inability to energetically vibrate so that you feel safe, they saw it as some sort of act of revenge or control or possible residual anger on my part, and it really wasn't like that at all. This particular individual, after a few years of no contact, actually shared a space with me in this celebration that we're all at. And it was actually kind of cool because it didn't bother me at all that they were there. But what was really good is that they understood, they accepted the boundary by not having communication with me, which I really, really appreciated. And that's when I realized that doing this unyogic, mean decision for myself, it had nothing to do with them, I was doing it for myself, was actually the right thing to do. So my point in this video is, don't let people tell you to be nice or pleasant or sociable, be socially acceptable if that causes you any discomfort. If your body is resisting it, don't do it. You're entitled to not have contact with someone. You have to be prepared for the fact that when you draw a boundary like this, and we all know people that we hear their stories about the same, boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or husband that's treating them horribly, you just know it's not going to end well. So, I'd encourage you to draw really clear boundaries. Be prepared that I might not like it, but stick to it, because this weekend really taught me that I was absolutely right. It was right for me to make a decision not to have contact with this person. I will never know the suffering and the contrast and the drama I've avoided by having contact with this individual who I wish well. So I feel very, very appreciative that I fortified myself enough to stand by my decision to do this. And I'd encourage you, if you find yourself in the decision, which is extremely rare for most people, that you do it, that you stick to your guns, leave a message if you're having doubts and I'll put you straight. So there you go. So turns out I'm not mean, I'm not unyogic, I'm human, I'm sovereign, I'm free, but you've got to choose to do what you have to do to get to that point. Do it lovingly, respectfully, and it'll work out. You'll see. Namaste.